Welcome to Trailer Geeks and Teaser Gods. I am your host, Corey Nathan. This is where we get to speak with the brilliant and creative people who make the greatest coming attractions, movie posters, and digital campaigns of all time. This program is brought to you by 2496 Sound and Music Design, best sound design and music elements in the business. We're also brought to you by the Golden Trailer Awards, by Soundstripe, the best royalty-free music for video ads and film, and by Mesa Wealth Management, our newest title sponsor, my pal George Mesa. And today, I am so pleased to be joined by my longtime friend, Vice President and Creative Director at AV Squad, Greg Krupka. Krupka, do I see a cat in the back? Is that what I see?
Yeah, she's wandering around back there.
Wait,
So don't mind her.
Dude, I didn't notice this, but you look a little bit like your cat.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. I can't even blame it on the drinking yet. We haven't even started drinking.
I
So.
know. But yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
How's it going? I mean, it's an interesting time of year. It can be either really, really crazy or kind of eerily slow. So how's it going for you?
No, it's pretty good. I mean, it's moving along. Plenty of stuff to keep me and everyone else busy. So that's a good thing.
That's awesome, man. Going through your stuff, man. It's amazing how prolific you've been. I mean, I know you've been at it for a while, so over time it just kind of accumulates. But just even seeing certain titles. But you know what? Before we get into, there's a lot of work that I want to ask you about. But I'm curious about. We've talked when we got together for lunch or drinks or whatever, about your background. But did you? So you went to a lot of friends in the industry. You went to Emerson. Did you grow up as a musician or?
Well, I played the trumpet when I was in grade school and high school, but that was the extent of it.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, grew up in Massachusetts and yeah, then got out to Emerson.
Oh, right on. Were you getting into film at Emerson, or were you thinking about pursuing
I was there for film, but I had done a lot of, like a lot of people, I'd made a lot of home movies, did some early editing, VHS to VHS editing at the public access station. And that's where I learned a lot and, got really excited about it before I went to Emerson.
Oh, wow. So wait, so the VHS to VHS, was it because Robert Walker was telling me a thing that he was like Jimmy rigging. He didn't know that when he first started editing, but he was literally cutting and pasting audio tapes and VHS. Was that the kind of thing you were doing, or did you have some sort of
That's wild. No, it was literally a machine called the video toaster, and you could set an in and an out point, and it was 2 tracks of audio, 1 track of video, obviously, and you'd pretty much edit, linear because it was just so hard to go back and fix anything, and you'd risk screwing up all the shit you just did. So,
oh man,
it was kind of forcing you to try and make your best choices first, basically.
So when you got to Emerson, did they have offline machines where you could hit the equivalent of Control Z, or did you have to be, as you were learning editorial, did you have to be super precious with every cut that you made?
No, that you would cut 16 millimeter film. Obviously you didn't want to have to keep, cutting the film and having to tape it back together. And you want to avoid moving things around too much because it would eventually fall apart going through the projector. So you try not to make a mistake, but they did have, the first digital editing that I had done. They had a video lab essentially, and you would edit your video film projects in there, and that's where the digital first started coming into play for me.
Right on, right on. And were you there? Were you at Emerson when others from the business were there? Did you know anybody?
I was out there at the same time as Chad, but I didn't know that. I'd never met him before. And Gershman, I found out, went there as well.
Yeah. There's a bunch of really great people that came out of there. Chad was too cool. He was DJing at super cool clubs and stuff like that, and he was into that whole scene, man.
He was.
When you think about that, it makes sense. When you think about what AV Squad is now, you have guys like you who are editors, filmmaker, on the film side, and then guys like Angel who are doing what Chad started out doing, so it's interesting. It's this come together of just really cool souls. But I'm like I said, I'm getting ahead of myself. So did you discover post-production like that as a focus when you were in school, or were you thinking that you were going to come out and
So,
direct or
sure. I was gonna, yeah, I wanted to direct stuff. I did really enjoy editing, and I was shooting stuff, but the editing kind of came into play when I was doing stuff in high school because I was making all these really violent movies with all the exploding blood packets, kind of like the Sam Peckinpah and John Woo stuff. So I was super into that. And then the editing kind of happened because of that, because we were like setting up so many blood packets on these people and, detonating them with the fireworks and stuff like that. That, you had to cut on the explosion of the firework going off. So it was just constant, editing up these violent action scenes with the locals, and that kind of got me, more into editing and more involved with it, kind of because of that.
oh, that's pretty cool. And then did you I don't know how far back their LA program, like they had an internship or whatever out here. Did you do one of those things or?
Yeah, I did. It was an alumni of Emerson, Paul Mora. He was a few years ahead of me, and I met him briefly when I was a freshman there. But when I came out, I got an internship at Swift River, and then I would edit their product placement reels for them as an intern,
Hmm.
and get paid to do that. So it would be like, someone would put a cereal box in a scene on a sitcom, and you'd assemble this, 2-minute reel of all these random things with the cereal box over here, and this person's holding it. And it was so bizarre, but it just got me used to like working with, clients and things like that. So it was interesting and, really good opportunity.
Oh, that's well, I guess that is something because part of the job, a little bit more so on the commercial editorial side, but to a degree, actually a large degree on the trailer side, is you're not just kind of in a vacuum cutting something brilliant. And like there are moments when you're doing that, but you're also dealing with people, whether it's over your shoulder or back in the day on the fiber or on the phone or whatever. So that is good preparation because school is a little bit different, I would imagine, where you're just kind of doing your thing.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, when you're in school, you're just super focused on those and on those projects, and those other things that come later with clients, they're not even on your horizon.
Yeah. Yeah. Was your first job in the trailer industry seismic, or did you
Yeah,
have it?
it was. That was my first one. I came in as an assistant, and, I learned a lot at Seismic, about storytelling and, they were doing so many drama films and comedy films and, real emphasis on storytelling. And, yeah, I moved up pretty quick there, probably in 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Out of
David and Kevin started the shop together, David being like a writer producer and Kevin being more the editor. But I would imagine that you learned a little bit something different from both of those guys.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. David was story and Kevin was too. One thing that Kevin told me that always stuck with me, he gave me a piece of advice, like when I started editing, the first handful of trailers and TV spots for the first, year and a half, 2 years, I might have been, reusing some noticeable sound effects. And he said to me, he's like, why do you want to do that? Why do you want all your trailers to sound the same? And I was like, oh man, I mean, it's obvious, but I didn't think about it. And that's one thing that I remember today outside of, basic sounds, like never try and use the obvious thing that sticks out ever again if you can help it.
Yeah. So were you starting to replace the natural sound? Like Doug Brandt was telling me that instead of just like the natural sound of a slap in the face or something, he would like replace it with, a drone or a guitar like just something like that you're not anticipating, but to emphasize the sound, were you
Yeah.
doing stuff like that?
No, I think that was probably a little too advanced for my my thinking at that point, honestly. So no, I
But
wasn't.
you do stuff, I mean, so what was the movie? I think Monkey Man was one where I mean, granted, a lot of it was the natural sounding on the punches and stuff like that, but it seemed like it let the sound on the punches or the kicks or the whatever really lent itself to the rhythm of that movie. I'm getting ahead of myself again, but like your work, just like there's something about your work that like gets into my gut that just doesn't leave me. So, but that's kind of what I'm thinking of. I mean, it's not to the degree that Doug was talking about where he's replacing it with a completely different sound, but there's an emphasis and a musicality to it, and a heightened naturality to it. I don't know if that's making sense, but that's how it's striking
It
me.
does. I mean, I see most people that have some sort of music background or at least can keep time. That is a big thing of editing. There's so many people talk about rhythmic cutting, and that is a style of cutting. I've done it plenty. And there's times where you don't do that, but yeah, all those things kind of, those patterns just lend itself to kind of blending seamlessly with your pacing and tone.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, so while we're talking about Seismic, were you there early enough for that? They had that classic Hollywood. They were in that classic Hollywood building for LA Athletic Club. Am I remembering that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was in the building for a year.
Were you like, did you know how cool that was, by the way?
I started to figure out that was a really cool place after the first few months there, and seeing all those. They would have a lot of the premiere after parties downstairs, and that was exciting for me because I'd never been to one, and there was kind of a back door you could sneak in and just walk into the after party, and I thought that was awesome. So I would invite, friends to come with me and go into these after parties while we were there. And I mean, it was so cool, just first being out here.
Yeah, I try not to lose that sense of wonder. Anytime I'm on one of the lots, there's such history, for this thing, not compared to like European history or whatever, but like for our thing, it's like, oh man, this is where Lucy and Desi were. This is,
Yeah.
like it just, I try not to lose that sense of wonder for those different gems that we have around the city,
Yeah. That was a neat spot.
So you, after Seismic, you had a stint at Mojo, and talk about virtuosos, man. That was a collection of virtuosos. Jeff and Michael, obviously, Jeff Lamont and Michael Kahane, obviously, but also guys like Marcus Wernig and Dave Yoakum. Did you get to work with each of those guys, or was there one person that you were working with more than others?
As far as Michael and Jeff, I worked mostly with Michael. And he was great. He was super nice guy. And I did learn a lot of new things from him. Jeff, very little. I worked with him. I mean, it was so quick, just being there for a year. But yeah, I met Dave there and Marcus. Those guys were super cool to me.
Yeah, yeah, and Michael's a musician too, so I would imagine you guys had a certain language that you could speak.
Yeah, to a degree. And he snapped me out of something on this last exorcism trailer I was doing. It was the back end of this trailer, and I was so in tune with trying to keep, dialogue and thoughts separated a bit. And the point of the back was to make it crazy. And he told me, he's like, no, don't make it clean. He's like, let these lines butt into each other, let them run over each other. And at the time I kind of, mentally I was resisting it. But then after, the next day I saw it and I was like, he's totally right. This was really a smart move. And it kind of got me thinking that you don't have to be so neat and clean all the time. And it was really valuable.
You know what's interesting is when I first started doing this thing, the podcast thing, especially when I first started cutting my own stuff, I was going through everything with a fine tooth comb, and I was trying to get all of the ums out and every time we talk over each other. But somebody, a really informed listener, told me, Corey, that's all well and good, but part of the magic of this particular medium is feeling like you're an intimate participant in the conversation. And part of that is being able to listen at the pace that you're thinking as you're engaging in the conversation. So I've gotten into the habit. I mean, sometimes you do have to do a little bit of cleanup, but now everybody's going to be listening and hearing all the ums and the stutters and all that shit. But I think that makes it, man. Like it really invites others into just a level of candor, a level of kind of organic thinking and talking, So I don't know. I appreciate that. Before we move on, I wanted to tell you about something else that's important. Money. Specifically your money. In all seriousness, I wanted to tell you about my advisor and my friend, George Meza. George runs Meza Wealth Management, And with George, it's not just about money. It's about helping us manage our present and plan for our future. And unlike a lot of other firms out there, George and I actually have a relationship. He knows me, he knows my family, and I know his wonderful family. I also know his firm and the incredible team he's put together, from his chief investment officer to some of the other great people in his office, like Jessica, their head of operations, that are always there to help me and with all aspects of our portfolio. You see, the thing is, I got a lot going on. I guess we all got a lot going on, and I don't have the time to watch our investments all day, every day. And even if I did, I don't have the experience and expertise that George's team collectively has. So we get the entire Mesa Wealth Management team, all their expertise and all their integrity. And again, it's based on George knowing me personally, knowing my goals, and even the kind of risk that's appropriate for me to take, which, by the way, could change from one season to the next. And they're on top of all of that. So if you want George Mesa and Mesa Wealth Management to be on your team, just visit their website, mesawealth.com. That's MEZA wealth.com, www.mesawealth.com. And that will also be in our show notes, so you can check that. So, fucking AV Squad, dude. Like, what the hell's wrong with that place? No, I'm just kidding. So, AV Squad, by the time, in all seriousness, they know I love them, and I just give them shit. But in all seriousness, by the time you got there, I would imagine you had a couple experiences at a couple different shops, and I would imagine too that you had by that time friends at other shops. Having had that experience, did you experience it? How would you describe what is unique about AV Squad?
It's just a fun place. When it all boils down to it, they try and keep things loose, allow you to be creative. I think that's one of the big things. I mean, they're really open to like editors' ideas and things they want to try. And if, not always necessarily dictating what you should or shouldn't be exploring, might suggest stuff based off, what a client says, but always open to seeing, a new look, within this realm of whatever the editor is thinking, as far as, some unique, beginning to the trailer or a framework. So they've always been really open into that. And, one thing that goes along with that, they mentor a lot of the AEs. At one point we had like a program essentially where we did it for a few months, where we pick a few AEs and we kind of talk technique and story. And we'd go over TV spots with them. We'd essentially have them cut spots. And I mean, since I've been there, there's probably been 8 AEs, which are now, really talented editors and part of our core crew, cutting lots of trailers, TV spots, finishing a lot of things, and just doing like really amazing work. So I think that's one of the unique things, just seeing so many people come up from within. And it just adds to a really deep bench of talent, honestly.
Yeah. It's interesting, like different shops take on different character in its own way. And to your point, like somebody who's emerging as a leader in our industry, just a shout out to Jen Gray, like, her stewardship of really important organizations and encouraging other editors. But, Jen came up as one of those assistant editors, and now she's emerging, and there's a whole, not to leave others out, but Jen just caught my eye, like listening to her speak at a recent Clio event, and knowing how critical of a role she's played at Soapbox Women and other leadership roles she's taken. But that's got to be, especially for somebody like you, and I know she has a ton of respect for you, that's got to be really cool to see somebody emerge like that, as a leader, not just a great creative in her own right, but also a leader and a mentor in the industry.
Yeah, no, it's super cool. It's exciting to see, everyone come in and everyone has, a thing they're really interested in doing, as far as stylistically. And it's cool to see that evolve and change, for each and every one of them, honestly.
Did you have certain, the other thing I was going to make note of is that Seth was a longtime editor, Chad was a longtime, and it's still cutting, and so many of the folks that are leading now at the shop are still hands-on editors. So the shop takes on a certain character of its own. And there's successful shops that are great and putting out some great work that are led by folks maybe more from a writing perspective or more from like a producery perspective. But there's merit to all of that. But I see your point in that the way that folks collaborate and mentor, and then evolve. It's a very editor sort of heavy. Is that fair to say, or am I being too single-minded
Yeah, no,
about
I
it?
mean, yeah, you have Adam Gonzalez and Tommy and, Brian Solomon, all these guys, which were editing for a long time. And I think, understanding that language is a huge asset, especially with communicating, with the editors.
Yeah. Now, what I started to ask a second ago was, were there certain creative directors when you first got there that you tended to work with a little bit more, or were you kind of, working a little bit with Chad and working a little bit with,
Just, it was pretty much with Chad and then uh, Scott Edwards for
oh,
a bit.
right, Scott was
Yeah,
there.
yeah. We used to work together for on the bunch of Lionsgate stuff initially. Yeah, super great guy. So yeah, it was basically Chad, him, and Buckman, obviously. Then I would do my own Lionsgate stuff eventually.
How was that transition? Because I know you're still cutting, but like, how was the transition? Was it hard to learn how to take on the role of creative directing, and especially once you started kind of overseeing, kind of being the captain of the team of when others were cutting on the campaign under you, or
Um, no, it was pretty smooth. I've just been working with Lionsgate for so long, leading into that, and basically, it was just having more communication with them on the phone rather than just being in the chair. I mean, that was the only real difference, being able to ask the questions that you wanted to ask when you were in the chair and didn't, um, have the avenue to do that. So that really helped a lot. So it was a pretty seamless transition.
yeah, yeah. I remember back in my days in theater, I did have some training on the stage, and that was important. So when I directed, produced, wrote, whatever, it was almost like my heart was up there with each actor, when I wasn't on the stage. So, I noticed that some creative directors are that way in that they could be in the room with the editor, and it's like they're they're like impulsively like, oh, like they want to get on the board themselves sometimes. Is it
Yeah.
hard to restrain yourself and you know, let the kid fall on his face, or find something brilliant that you never would have found, or
Yeah,
how hard is that?
yeah, no, it's not hard. I mean, you always have to let someone try something if they believe in it. You give them the space to do their thing, and then you sit back and you kind of look at it with them, and maybe it works great, or maybe you need to modify something or take another avenue. So, no, I love giving people space. The you want people to be excited.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to be excited if I'm cutting something.
That's cool. Yeah, I was thinking about that with my kids too when they were little. Sometimes they just got to fall down and go boom. But then sometimes they find a brilliant, like, oh, yeah, you found your way out of that one. So you got a lot of work, dude. I don't know if you're aware of that, but there's a lot of pretty great fucking work. So, okay, so John Wick, it's almost like there are marriages that don't last as long as your relationship with John Wick.
Yeah, yeah, it's gone a long time. It's been a great franchise to be a part of. Honestly, it's so much fun. It's just an embarrassment of riches of dialogue and action, and just the people that I've been able to work with at Lionsgate throughout all that time has been really great too.
You know what I noticed as I was going through each of them, the the music enters you into, like, you're in John Wick world, but it enters you into like chapter 2 to chapter 3. You got that classical cue, so I feel like I'm in this elevated world of like regal, I don't know, just kind of a classical, just another like a level of regal formality, I guess. But then you get to chapter 3 and Dream the Impossible Dream. Like, whose idea was that? Who found that, man? That was
I
crazy.
mean, I gotta. That's all Angel, man. I mean, we were just talking about mixing it up at that point, outside of where we were on the last one, and it's always about when you have a set of movies that already has an established character, that's so well liked from this first one. It gives you so much room to play. essentially, and we wanted to mix it up, and it was mostly set in New York, and that song and lyrics really kind of fit what was happening. So Angel was like, "Why don't we use this?" I was like, That's a great idea. Yes, we'll do that."
So Dream the Impossible Dream. First of all, when I heard it, I was like, oh man, okay, you had me at hello kind of a thing. But the particular treatment of it, forgive me for sounding ignorant, but how does that work? Do you have like, is it Angel and Angel has people that he works with to sort of customize it or trailerize it? Like, how does that process go? Because it was so perfect for that particular piece.
Yeah, that actually was like 3 different customs, I think, put together, which
Oh, wow.
it was a mix and match at the end of the day. But yeah, we usually get a library to either do overlays or really customize it, and I think it was Sense It that did just a basic overlay to it, and then we had to add other sections as we went along, based off the direction we were getting from the studio, where Jaron at our company added like a whole middle ticking thing that blended into it, and then we like Angel hired um a vocalist to sing the Andy Williams lyrics in the beginning. Like, that wasn't even Andy Williams.
Oh, wow.
We didn't quite have the technology at that point to quite separate the vocals from the background music like we can now, even just, a handful of years later. So we hired a vocalist to sound like Andy Williams. So that was like honestly a patch job with all these things to put it together, but it all, worked.
Yeah. And it's really amazing what the right music can do. And I would imagine this kind of evolved over various versions, but it's almost like you could have put any shot to those moments musically speaking. Like you had the right substrate and musically, and then any shot, the music just did so much of the heavy lifting, so you could allow for a close up and just kind of sit with a close up, and it told so much of the story with a level of to the consumer, to somebody watching it. It felt like um, it it felt like so much was being done with an elegant simplicity. I don't know if I'm being too erudite about it, but I'm trying to describe what it like. The music was just perfect, man. And then every shot, I was like, oh man, there's not much happening here, but there's so much happening here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, the music did all the heavy lifting. I mean, you can have a mediocre trailer with a great piece of music, and then it just elevates your mediocre cut, honestly.
I wouldn't say mediocre. I would say it's pretty fucking awesome. But then, I mean, you stayed with the franchise through all this time. So you get to chapter 4. Um, how difficult is it to bet, like, it's chapter 4, 10th anniversary, between the need to keep things fresh while still being faithful to what the franchise is and that particular installment of the franchise is? You know what I'm asking? Like each movie, you have to keep it like exciting enough for people to want to keep coming back to another
Yeah.
John Wick film, but yet you have to be faithful to what it actually is, right?
Yeah, you do, and I mean, and with the music, the choice on the next one, it lends itself to changing the tone again. It was like a little more melancholy, kind of like a goodbye song, but also kind of a celebration of life, and that kind of fits into where that story was going. Um, so yeah, the music, honestly, it does all the work for you, and that was the Terry Jacks Seasons in the Sun, that Angel picked for that one and pitched to me, and I was like, "Well, this is gonna need a really good custom to make this
Yeah.
work." But I was like, I mean, it's a really great idea, and Boomerang did an awesome job on that custom. I mean, they had to do a lot of work.
Oh,
Um,
man.
uh,
And then I gotta tell you, I really enjoyed The Wick is Pain, but I was wondering if you felt a certain kinship with the actors and the director and the crew that had been with all the different John Wick movies, because 'cause you've been with the movie for so long. Did you feel a certain kinship with them, or
well,
uh
one thing that, when I was cutting that, there was so much training footage at 8711, stunt company, which was Chad Stahelski, the director, and then his former partner, David Leitch. And I used to film, kind of, I guess you'd call them previs fights, live action, all the training stuff with guys from 8711 for certain projects that actors were up for. So I'd been in that facility, and I had met Chad years before Wick. He would never remember that, but I was in there a lot. So just seeing that, and even recognizing some of the guys and stunt guys and things like that was, kind of, I guess, gave me that feeling of familiarity to a degree. But yeah, I mean, literally staring at these people for over a decade. Yeah.
Trailer Geeks and Teaser Gods is brought to you by 2496 Sound and Music. 2496 Sound and Music has been publishing music and sound design in Hollywood for over 2 decades. While most traditional libraries started with music first, 2496 started from the ground up, creating killer sound design elements for trailers and film campaigns. Then they started building a music catalog which matches the sound design catalog perfectly, creating a powerful blend of sound, music, and emotion. Their founder, Lenny Jones, who's a pal of mine, really good guy, he is a motion picture and television sound editor with credits on top shows including Ancient Aliens and Unsolved Mysteries. 2496's sound design can be heard on current trailer campaigns, including many of the summer's box office hits. 2496's composers and sound designers hail from all over the globe, giving their clients not just 24/7 service, but an international style that will appeal to a global audience. They excel at rapid customizations and creative revisions, minimizing delays in your creative process. If you're looking for the sound of the next for your next trailer campaign, check out 2496 Sound and Music at 2496sfx.com. That's the numbers 2496 and SFX like sound effects. That's 2496sfx.com. Over time, is it just the client, the creative executive at the studio that knows you, or do the filmmakers, or do any of the filmmakers, director, producers know that it's you that's been cutting all this stuff?
I know the one of the producers for Thunder Road, Erica Lee, who actually met through Adam Mays, another great editor friend of mine. And so she's the only one that I know a bit more. Like, I mean, I've met Chad Stahelski several times. He's always at the mixes, but I don't, know him on a personal basis, but I've had plenty of conversations with him over the years.
That's pretty cool. I mean, again, like I never want to lose that sense of wonder. Like when you're in a room with somebody who's done work that you have so much respect for, that I don't want to be, I don't want to be inappropriate, obviously, but like I also want to appreciate like this is pretty fucking cool,
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But also like, yeah, on the client side, all the ever changing, clients throughout the years, there's a lot of great relationships, built through then with like Tim Palin and John Fu and Jack Teed now. And I briefly worked with Ashley Ackerman on one of the pieces for Wick 4. So it's been, really cool to have all these other people involved and, have excitement for it as well. And, just want to get the best work out of it.
Yeah, yeah. So one of your more recent pieces, "Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die." I was wondering about that one. There's all kinds of buildups to screeching halts, buildups, like one after the, and usually a lot of times in a trailer, there's sort of this predictable, build up and then, okay, end of act one. And now a new thing and build up and end of act two. Or it might be 2 acts, it might be 3 acts, it might be whatever. But there were a lot of them in this one. I was curious how how many of those build ups you can afford in one piece. Is it something that you think about in advance, or is it just kind of a feel thing and you figure it out together with the creative exec and others that are involved, other stakeholders?
It's definitely a feel thing, for sure. The music can tell you a lot, but also at the same time, that one did lean a little bit comedy and fun. So, with comedy trailers and things like that, I mean, you do have your stone cold stop downs and things like that. But yeah, it's the music and just kind of feeling it as you go. You want to let the music like rip for a little bit. I mean, that music was so cool that, we wanted to have sections where it went, but we also wanted it to change up. So you want to just give it a little break for, a little one-liner or just, calling out the main title or whatever in the middle.
So did the team create some of that? Because it was like the cue was based off of the actual, am I right about, or did that come from the movie?
It was in the movie. It's part of the main title of the film. So it's actually from the movie.
Yeah.
So when I saw the movie, I was like, well, I mean, this is a no-brainer. I mean,
Yeah.
you have to use this. This is going to be so cool, because you never get the opportunity to use like a vocal main title of your film in the trailer. So yeah, I mean, it was all about finding a piece of music though that could also support that, to where it wasn't some song that everyone knew, and then you're trying to shoehorn this main title chant into it. And but Angel once again found this incredible cue, and it just really fit organically in there. And I love the cue, on its own, let alone putting the chant in there.
Yeah, yeah, and it works so well. I mean, I wonder though, well, you know the answer, so I could just ask you, like, do you sometimes start with where you know something has to be, whether it's the beginning of the piece or the end of the piece, somewhere in the middle of the piece, and you're like, "This has to be there, and I'll just build around this," or do you always start at the beginning of a piece and hope that something that you think should work into it, you kinda jimmy rig it into it?
I will start all over the place. Sometimes I'll just start at the end, going in the main title, and then, I might just do the back end, and then sometimes I literally work backwards, or sometimes I work forwards. I mean, it just depends on what I know or think may work the best, and I want to know whether it's going to before I start building everything else. Yeah, it's a real it's a really random, way to do it, but you know, it's just by feel. If like, "Hey, I'm feeling the end in the main title works,"
Yeah.
okay, so far so good, and then, I'll jump around.
I guess you have to know your clients too. Like there are some clients where they don't think that way. They think in a linear way. Whereas other clients can look at a section and be like, yeah, 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 you're on the right track. Let me see what you can bring back when you flesh this out some more.
Yeah. I think it's at the end of the day, whatever you can do to get you moving and getting stuff on that timeline, that gets you in a place where you feel like something's happening and working. I think that's the best way to go about it, no matter how strange or messy that process is.
Okay, so this is the first of several movies where I just want to say him is the movie that I'm talking about. And it's the first of several movies that I looked at or trailers that I looked at where I want to say just fuck you. And the reason I say that is because I must be the biggest sucker in the world because I go on the ride with you for like act one or whatever, or a minute and a half into the trailer. And then you just like pull the rug out or you like, throw shit at me that I'm just like, damn it. I was really hoping for a rom-com, or in this case, it was something different. It was like, oh, this is cool. We're doing like, if Michael Jordan were to do, a movie, like this is what it would be. And it's kind of high drama kind of a thing. And then it was just something different, like about a minute or so into it. It was just like, oh shit, we went there, didn't we? So so I don't know if that was the intent, but like the series, in all seriousness, the first minute or so of that trailer, him, I felt like it was like a really well done, a really well done. It could have been a commercial for like any kind of athletic something, right?
Yeah.
Um, so I was getting into it, and sometimes commercial editorial, it'll be very filmic that way. It'll be sort of artistic that way. But then it became something. So was that a specific direction? Was that the intent, like for me to get pulled into that world and then to say, no, we're in a different world? Like, was that the whole idea?
Yeah, 100%. Adam Gonzalez was the creative director on that, and he had some conversations with a client, and I believe he pitched it to them about trying to, make it like a Nike commercial, and then it gets crazy. And when we got the movie in, I asked him about the movie. I just looked at it quickly, and he's like, "Oh, this is what we talked about doing." I'm like, "That sounds awesome. I want in on this." And then it just kind of, went from there, just figuring out the best way to kind of make like a hype, inspirational speech, and cut it kind of like a commercial, make it feel like that. And then we had a really great moment of these helmets colliding, and that was a perfect spot to just stop it, and
Yeah.
switch gears. Um,
So
so yeah, that
that
was,
speech, by the way, was freaking perfect. Was that directly from the movie, or did you kind of piece that together from different parts of the movie?
it was pieced together from like 4 different speeches, I think. We
Oh,
just
wow.
had to figure out the one that made the most, the through line that made the most sense, with what he was saying and what we were trying to convey.
Yeah. Yeah. Like VO, you don't hear as much VO in trailers, but like VO or narration, that is some of the best usage of narration but that's what I was wondering, is if it was like the movie just kind of lent itself perfectly to that 2.5 minute distillation. There were
Mm.
other like, sorry, go ahead.
No, no, no. You're 100% right. Um, yeah, 100% right with that. I mean, in regards to to switching tones, in the middle, we gave a reference to infrasound, who did that music, a reference of this French movie Irreversible as like a really disturbing soundtrack. And there's one cue I always really liked in there, and we gave them a reference for that when they did a custom back end for us. And we're like, we just kind of want something that's a little off-putting like this, and then layered all our own sound effects on top of that when we put it together.
And then there were also these little gems, like little very, very specific choices. In particular, what I'm thinking of is toward the very end, the breath. Like sometimes you hear breathing, and it's kind of incorporated to set a mood or set a rhythm or something. But this was a very, very specific kind of breath. And I was curious if that came from the movie too. It's like, it's not just the out of breath kind of breath that you would have after doing a workout or something like that, but it was a very particular kind of, like, if you were getting a workout and tortured at the same, like it was so specific. I don't know if I was like
Is
reading.
that like a repeating breath or something that happened throughout the thing, or
No, no, no. It was at the very end when they
I think it was practical, man. I
oh, really?
think it
Yeah.
was.
Well, then the acting performance and what you chose to include, and Gonzo, I guess, like that choice, it hit me a very specific way, that it brought me into a very specific moment at the end of this, not just pro level workout, but like the nature of the workout. It wasn't just like, oh, I'm going to go work out. It was I don't know. It was something very, very, a very specific choice that I picked up on. Trailer Geeks and Teaser Gods is brought to you by the Golden Trailer Awards. For folks who are just starting to get plugged in, the GTAs is an unconventional ceremony that honors excellence in feature film trailers, teasers, and movie marketing. Or as some folks like to think of it, it's the award ceremony for the short attention span. We all just celebrated the 25th Golden Trailer Awards. So, would that be the Silver Golden Trailer Awards? Either way, it was a terrific show. Monica and Evie do such a wonderful job putting it together. Tons of fun, so much awesome work across the board. And mostly, it was just great to be together as a community. So keep an eye out for a number of exciting developments over the next year. Just make sure to stay plugged in at goldentrailer.com for a ton of exciting developments. That's goldentrailer.com. So, speaking of specific choices, the music in Monkey Man, it was like it, it was it was a fusion of styles. So I felt like I was in India, but also the I don't know, the rhythmic nature of it and the contemporary kind of hip hop feel to it. I'm not cool enough to know if that's an actual genre, or if you were kind of mashing up a lot of stuff, because it worked perfectly for that piece.
Yeah, we tried to mash everything up. We wanted to stay authentic. So we used there's this guy named Zakir Hussain who was doing these hand drums, the tabla drums in the film during a sequence where Dev Patel is training, and he's punching this bag and kicking this bag, and it was a really cool. I mean, the guy was incredible. So we wanted to use this really raw drum at the top of it to tell this character's kind of backstory, like a myth in a way, and that was true, authentic um, to the film and to the culture. And then we wanted to make it fun as we went on, and that's where the mashup came. It was like an Apache mashup of Jay-Z and then the Punjabi MC, and that was a super cool custom. And I mean, it just made cutting this thing so much fun. So.
Yeah. I really appreciated how you stayed with it. I mean, there were stops and starts, of course, but you stayed with it throughout the entire, trailer. Um, and again, it's like bringing me into a world using sound, and then the shots that you matched up with it, like the shots were, in some cases, like there are a lot of pieces of yours that I watch where I'm like, this is a ballet, and they're hitting they're hitting time, they're hitting notes, they're hitting like, that's what I was talking about before about like, punch in the bag and like different emphases that you're helping me with the visuals and the music and the sound, So it really in a sensory way took me into that world in a very concrete way. So
Yeah. No, it was fun to cut with. I think Dev Patel, when he first saw it, he was unsure if he I don't think he really liked it. I think Jordan Peele was the one who really liked it, and then, it was kind of a discussion. Well, I saw that Dev wasn't exactly on board with it, initially, and then I think after 24 hours, of Dev showing his family, I think they got him excited about it, and then we ended up moving forward with it.
sometimes it is hard to be objective.
Yeah.
I, I mean, for me, when I'm cutting stuff that I'm on, the second that I'm listening to it, like if it's kind of like this, if you're trying to act while looking in a mirror, then that you can't be double-minded in that way. But once it's on tape, now it's just a character. Now but there are some people that can't separate themselves from seeing themselves on film that way. But what I would say if I was his friend or his producer or his something, his collaborator, I would say, just objectively speaking, that the shots that you caught, um, that you put in there, that you used, a lot of them, they could have been still photos, but they were so packed with inner life, you know, that every I could just look at it frame by frame, and every frame told a story because the acting was really good,
Mhm.
and each shot was so full, and it just complemented. I guess it complemented the musical choices and the sound composition that you put together. So that's probably what I would tell Dev Patel. I
Alright.
Yeah, yeah, not that he's calling me for advice or anything, but I don't know. That'd be fun, actually. There are people that when I first got to town that are like doing these really cool things. Um, yeah, but I don't know. I could like name drop, but that would be kind of star fuckery of me. I'm not going to do that. But okay, so Barbarian, that was another fuck you moment
Yeah.
because
That
d-
was a cool that was a crazy movie, yeah.
dude, but I knew by the title that it couldn't be this. Like Our House, because I'm a big CSN fan. My initials are CSN actually, but I'm like, okay, all right, Our House. I know this is gonna go, and yet I'm still like jumping out of my chair when you turned it on me. So
Yeah, that was a real slow burn, and trying not to reveal a lot and just really using a third of the movie maybe,
yeah,
and just trying to keep everything, keep the big twist, keep the, third act a surprise. I mean, obviously with weapons, coming out and everyone seeing the marketing on that and restraint. I mean, that director, was major proponent of restraint across the board. Um, so yeah, I think what got us across the finish line on that one was we found a really weird, bizarre speech that was playing on this video in the background of one scene, and it wasn't really out in front in the feature, but it was like, kind of an instructional video for, first-time mothers and breastfeeding. So it was essentially a hint at the twist, without explicitly saying it, because that was honestly a big part of the twist. So it was kind of hidden in plain sight, I guess.
yeah, yeah. There was that thing toward the end where there was I don't know if you'd call it narration, but it was like the voice that you hear over everything that's like hinting at something. I'm like, I gotta watch this trailer a few times and maybe I'll pick up on it. But I was guessing that the point was to keep it subtle enough to just at least raise some question marks.
Yeah. It's all about just raising questions, and having people be curious what that tape is talking about. And I think,
Yeah.
um, when I found out, I was like, "Oh, this could be really interesting."
Yeah, yeah. Now a movie like Blade Runner 2049, I would imagine that creates a special challenge just because the original film, obviously, anybody who's, anybody who's been not just studying film, but like kind of aware of the culture, that has such a strong following. It has such a mark in film history. Are you are you aware of that when you're cutting? Is that a special burden for you? Or are you just so focused on, this is the movie and, doing the thing that you always do?
No, with that one, I was really excited. I mean, I saw Blade Runner when I was 8, and, it was so far over my head when I saw that, but it stuck with me because I was just, fascinated by the visuals, and it just felt so adult, and the fact that I couldn't grasp everything in it, at the time, and then grew to love the movie as time went on, and I just, really wanted to be a part of this, sequel, I guess, or continuing of the story. So no, I was super excited to have a chance to work on it.
That's cool. Were the filmmakers really involved in the marketing?
To an extent, I mean, just it was more so between Sony and Warner Brothers. You had a lot of people involved in the process. You had a lot of companies working on that one, and a lot of people were really excited about it. And, that was for me probably one of my most difficult campaigns just 'cause it went on for so long and, we cut so many pieces. Everyone cut so many teasers and trailers and, I really wanted to get a piece on that one and uh, it took me till almost, later in the campaign getting like this, until the second trailer that I finally got one, but, I wanted it so badly, just keep going and you just have to get used to starting over, if you wanna have a shot.
That's interesting. Yeah, there's more stakeholders than normal with that one. So I would imagine what helps you, like, I mean, you're obviously an accomplished editor and creative director, but sometimes getting the finish is just a matter of stamina, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, sometimes it really is, and if you are really excited about something and can go for months and months and months and and lose a few times and still, keep at it and, have excitement for it, you can be rewarded potentially or not. I've
Or
had
not. Yeah.
other ones where there's just nothing,
All
but
that work for nothing, damn it.
yeah, but it is
Oh,
all
man.
about, you get something you're excited on, you wanna give it your best.
Yeah, yeah. Now, there were a couple pieces I had an affinity for, but it was because they weren't, like, you wouldn't if I was looking at it, I wouldn't think, "Oh, this is Krupka right away." So, one was Age of Adeline. I mean, that's my kind of movie, like, I would wanna go see that movie, but if I saw those pieces, I would not think I would not have known that that was you. How hard is it to adapt to a different genre, a different tone?
Um, that one I was nervous about, but I wanted to try it. Just randomly, John Fu was at Lionsgate at the time, and he asked me to work on it, and I was like, "Sure." I was surprised, honestly, to be asked on it because I hadn't done anything like that, but, after I read the script, I really liked the script, and then we got the film, and it looked great, so I really wanted to try and challenge myself and, cut something like that. And I kind of, thought back to the early, seismic days, honestly, seeing
Yeah,
a lot of those, types of films go through there, when working on it. So that was definitely interesting, but one that I, was up for the challenge for sure.
that's
I
awesome.
I
The
remember.
Go
Sorry,
ahead.
go.
No, the other one was Hacksaw Ridge. I mean, that has some of the action, I guess, that, I see in a lot of your other pieces, but the heightened drama and the relationship and stuff like that, sort of elevating the merits of that movie was definitely a little bit different than a lot of the other pieces that we're talking about.
Yeah. No, I was a big, am a big fan of Mel Gibson's films, and I really wanted to work on that one and was happy to have the opportunity, and, it was just a cool story, and fortunately, it all came together. We had a nice piece of library music we were able to use, and, it actually went pretty smoothly, but, yeah, it was definitely a different, set of editing muscles on that I was used to, but happy to have tried, you know?
I know for a couple of his movies, he was really involved in the marketing. Was he involved with that one, or did he ever come into your bay or anything, or
No, no, I mean, that would've been cool, but no, outside of the Lionsgate meetings he had, I would just hear whatever feedback he had, through them like usual on projects.
And then when you do step out of your typical genres that a lot of folks know you for, do you lean on, like, do you ever go to Andrea Weeks and hey, how do you collaborate with them and get some tips from them about how to solve a different genre, or are you trying to do as much as you can on your own and then maybe get some feedback?
I tend to do a lot of stuff on my own, but obviously, if I ever have questions about anything, I don't hesitate to ask. But I tend to be to do a lot on my own at this point.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And you obviously there's a high level of collaboration. There are certain creative execs that you work with, and I would imagine there's such a high level of collaboration there, like your friends at Lionsgate, for example.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Jack Teed, he's great. Chris Daniel, I've known for a long time. He's great. I've worked with Lily a bit too. She's wonderful. I mean, just
Gershman loves you, dude.
yeah, I mean, he's fantastic. Yeah, I've worked with him a bunch. And I've never met Adam Fogelson, but
Truly a classy dude. Like he's been on the program and I've gotten to know him a little bit over the years, but I'm not saying this because he is who he is. Like, well, I am saying this because he is who he is. He's a genuine dude, super smart. I always feel a little bit smarter. Well, when I'm in his presence, I feel dumb because of how smart he is, but then I walk away having felt a little bit smarter.
yeah.
But I will say, he's a genuinely classy individual. And I love the fact that our industry has people at all levels. I'll run into somebody right out of school or, getting their first internship or whatever that I'm just blown away by, inspired by, or people like him who are super accomplished, started a studio, and running just like, so at all levels. I'm just, that's why one of the reasons I love this industry so much. So Trailer Geeks and Teaser Gods is brought to you by Soundstripe. So if you're an editor, a producer, a creative exec, a music supervisor, or even a podcaster like me, if you're a content creator of all stripes, if you will, and you're looking for the perfect library of music and sound effects, check out Soundstripe. With over 10,000 high quality tracks, including music from Grammy winning artists, Soundstripe makes music licensing hassle free. Believe me, I've tried it. I've been on there, I've navigated around. It was really terrific. It was really easy to use. So, with a simple subscription, you get unlimited access to a vast catalog, downloadable stems for creative flexibility, and AI song editing to customize tracks effortlessly. Plus, their seamless integration with Premiere, which is what most of my editor friends are on, it means a smoother editing experience. If you're ready to level up your production game with properly licensed, high quality music and sound effects, head over to soundstripe.com/trailergeeks and save 10% with code trailergeeks. That's soundstripe.com/trailergeeks and code trailergeeks. But one of the reasons I hate this industry is because you keep on making trailers that scare the shit out of me. No, so you're next. So was that Lou Reed cue? Was that part of the movie already, or did you?
It was not. Another one that Angel recommended when we were working on that one, and that was a little bit before we were doing so many customs of cues. And I loved working on that movie. I was really excited to work on it at the time, and it was just the opportunity to use a needle drop and not mess with it. Start a trailer with a needle drop. And
So because I noticed that you didn't like augment it the way that some of the other music was, like it was just like it is what it is, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, 100%. There's no added even overlays or drums or anything on it. And yeah, we start with the beginning of that song, and it's such an epic song that, when we eventually get back to the song later on after departing from it, there's like an action in the piece, like an axe hitting a floor, which makes the CD player that, I guess I should have said, we start with the CD player, the classic trope.
Yeah.
A billion times. You start with the CD player, you start with the record. It's still happening today. We still do it. But yeah, start with a CD player, but in the middle, it comes back to it when this axe hits the floor, and then it says repeat. And when it goes back, it's the big part of the song. And then we just ride that out.
Yeah, coming back to it at the end, that was like, oh man. Yeah, that's why that one's going to stay with me. Dude, so all right, I didn't realize I could there's a lot more titles I could ask you about, but I got other things I need to ask you about your career-wise and industry-wise. So, we have been through a lot over the last few years. Not just going back to COVID and the double strikes and all that, but like there's just been a lot for everybody individually and collectively. I was curious how you how you've gotten through it over these last few years. Like, are there any practices or things that you do, people that you talk to? I don't know. How do you get through it?
Honestly, I just focused on work and then the time I'm not working, just try and do things that I enjoy. We were fortunate at AV Squad to stay busy, for the most part, and just have a really good morale, generally across the board. So it honestly, fortunately for me, it hasn't been that difficult in regards to work and industry wise, honestly.
Yeah. And things have definitely evolved over the last few years, and it's hard to, be a fortune teller and see where things are going, but do you have a sense of, like, how where things are headed in general in terms of marketing?
I think well, one thing which I'm noticing is like the interactive events, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many more things happening, even with trailer launches. Like, one thing that I just saw firsthand when we were doing Ballerina, like for one of the trailer launches, they had a thing online leading up to the trailer drop of a dude with a flamethrower, frying a block of ice to get to a TV, which was stuck in the middle, and then when the ice melts and the TV is exposed, the trailer starts. So it's get online engagement. And then at the Clio's, some people won for I guess it was some sort of marketing innovation. I can't remember the category, but it was for the show Severance, where I guess they had the actors,
Yeah.
inside the glass, box, and people would just stand around and watch them. So it's like these crazy, really interesting um, things to involve the public and audience. I think that stuff is going to just progress and get crazier and more unique because I just feel like I'm just seeing so much more of that than ever now, and it just feels to me like it's really beginning something new, and that's not completely AV related.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be nerve-wracking to think about, okay, things are changing so fast, but I don't know. It's gradual until it's not. So, we've talked about that a lot on this program, and just I don't know. You seem like, if you're focused on the work, and what you have to get done today, that's a pretty good place to start. And none of us are the conductor of the entire industry. Even guys like Fogelson, even guys like that are not the conductor. So we have to ride the wave that is, as opposed to thinking that we can shape the wave. So, okay, I'm putting you a little bit on the spot, but it is a fun question. Um, do you have any favorite trailers, movie posters, or digital pieces? Not necessarily your own, but just anything from, like, entertainment advertising that you just like, wow, that's some of the coolest shit out there.
I'll just go. This is from a little ways back, but just something that stuck out because it made me so excited to see the movie was the Prometheus teaser and trailer. Those got me so excited to see that film. That I had such high expectations, and I mean, I still really like that movie, but my expectations were through the roof after seeing that teaser. I think Skip did that teaser.
I was just looking that up. I'm pretty sure that's Skip. And hey, shout out to Skip. He just got a major surgery, and we're rooting for him. I'll be sure to put the link in the show notes to be supportive of his recovery efforts. But yeah, I mean, that dude has had such an impact on the art of trailers, but also on so many people in the industry. So just best wishes to him and his family. So I'm so glad you brought that piece up, man. He's the real deal, and
I was just watching that Gone in 60 Seconds cut a few weeks ago
yeah,
too. So cool.
that to talk about moments that changed things. He found depths in the technology as well as the craft all at the same time. So yeah, major shout out to Skip. Love that dude. So okay, so if you're talking to the 20-nothing-year-old version of yourself, and you're thinking you want to share wisdom about habits that they could imbue or develop, that would, I'm not going to say success, because success can be measured in all kinds of ways, but I'm going to say, like, that would give them a good chance of having an enriching and fulfilling career, an enriching and fulfilling time in this industry. What are some of those habits, or what are some of those pieces of wisdom?
I mean, well, I think it boils down to just, watching if you're interested in just, I guess I'll boil down to just trailers or editing or producing. I mean, just watch as many trailers as you can. I mean, it's just, immerse yourself in campaign elements, and ask a lot of questions. I know I asked a lot of questions when I was starting out to kind of learn the ropes and how things work. I mean, those are two basic things, obviously, but if you're at a company where you have the opportunity to, look at some of the editor sequences and how people build things, I mean, that's a huge tool, um, huge learning tool, for everything, just, sound and picture and everything. That's honestly the biggest thing, that I would say. And then just practice. I mean, you have to practice doing this stuff. You have to jump in.
I would imagine, I haven't looked at a lot of other editors' timelines, but like I would imagine that every editor's timeline is kind of like looking at their room. Some are really, really messy, some are perfectly neat, some are somewhere in between, but all are sort of an expression of that individual creative, right?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, over the course of time, you have to make changes for someone, or someone's changing your trailer, and then you see and you're like, oh my God, I don't know, I don't know how you work in this. But no, it's really interesting. Or you see the opposite, and it's like just the cleanest thing. I mean, yeah.
That's awesome. I won't ask what kind of editor you are, or Chad is for that matter, but I'll ask him next time I hang out with him. And Gonzo, I'm curious about Gonzo now. Anyway, do you have any questions for me?
Hey, I do. I know that you were talking about or thinking about potentially incorporating video into your show, potentially.
Yeah.
Do you think that is an actual possibility? And if it is, you know, when do you think it might happen? And how do you think it might change the structure or how you approach your show if that does happen?
Well, there's something that is magical about this program, and I kind of alluded to it earlier. What I love about the podcast medium is that whether we're doing this, like you and I have hung out in person a lot, but and that's why maybe we have a certain connection and rapport even over Zoom. But podcasting at its best is conversation happening in a very authentic way, like two people having an intimate conversation, and the other folks who are participating are are also in the room with you. They're not necessarily speaking, they're listening, but you want to invite others into that room with you to have that, to be a part of that intimate conversation. So when we introduce video, and it will happen, I think it'll happen in 2026. Not to mention any specific companies or names or shit. Hold on, wait. I pulled my plug out. I gotta actually. Okay, so 102. All right, that's an editorial note. Pulled plug.
I like it.
Um, so I won't mention any names or company names or anything, but I was having a little bit of a trip up with getting permission to show trailers, and I'm like, they're already on YouTube. Like, what are we talking about here? And by the way, I'm selling your movie, So I might don't tell anybody this, but I might ask for forgiveness rather than permission in some instances. That's worked for me in the past, so I might do that with this one. But one way that's super accessible is shorts are becoming a lot more prevalent. They're already very prevalent. So YouTube, TikTok, and other platforms. So what we might do is kind of match up um, some of the stuff that we're talking about, or past guests have talked about, because we have, like, I don't know, 150 episodes of this stuff. Could you imagine Tommy referring to something that he did and just like kind of showing the actual trailer that he's talking about, or bar, like there's so many people, like, dude, seriously, like everybody, like the legends that have been so nice enough to hang out with me for a little bit and talk about, or the stuff that we were doing over the summer when Deborah Luster was talking about, like, oh yeah, so we were working on the trailer, the Star Wars trailer and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, Debbie, like, slow down. Wait, you just said the fucking Star Wars trailer, So imagine showing, like, I don't know, 3 minutes of that, for everybody to enjoy while you're showing, whether it's the full trailer or, bits of it, so that's the, that's what I look forward to sharing with everybody. But Yeah, that'll come. I got to get better at Premiere. I'm good at Audition, good
I
enough
was
at
going
it.
to say, have you been practicing your video editing or?
So, dude, I don't know if I'm throwing him on. I hope I'm not throwing him onto the bus right now. But MJ, Michael over at your
Oh, yeah.
place, he was kind enough to spend some time with me over the weekend, and he was showing me around Premiere.
Oh, that's
And I've had some other friends like Chad Miser was the one who showed me, who spent basically a whole day with me showing me Audition and really gave me a good basis to get some reps in. And MJ was kind enough, and MJ's working on one of our podcasts with us. So yeah, so just having good friends that kind of show me around and others who collaborate on what we're doing here has been really cool. But I might I might call you and see if you want you want to piece some stuff together. But yeah, at the very least, I think we'll see some shorts in the coming year. So that'll be
That's
good.
exciting.
Yeah. So before we go, how can folks find you and AV Squad online and keep up with all the great work you and the team are doing?
Let's go to avsquad.com.
avsquad.com. Simple as that. Some of the great work and some of the best people in the business, man. I love you guys. Krupka, this was fucking awesome, dude. I'm so glad that we did this. I love hanging out with you, but I'm glad we get to share it with some people too.
Yeah, no, this was fun. Yeah, thank you for having me on.
You bet. And thank you all for listening. As always, please rate us, review us wherever you get your podcasts. It really does help in the rankings so others can find the show and learn about this wonderful art form, this crazy little industry we're in. Follow us on all the socials. I'm easy to find. I'm at Corey S. Nathan, Corey S. Sam, Nathan, at Corey S. Nathan. And check out our awesome sponsors too. They really do help us do what we're doing. 2496 Sound and Music Design, the Golden Trailer Awards, Soundstripe, and Mesa Wealth Management. Really grateful to all those folks for helping us keep the lights on. Thanks again for joining us. Now go do some inspired work.